is Keyed In with Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. And now, here are your hosts, Max Rabin and Brent Jackson.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Keyed In podcast. I'm Max Rabin.
And I am Brent Jackson.
Brent, today we're welcoming Lydia Travelstead, our friend from Baltimore, Maryland. Lydia's with our company, TTR Sotheby's International Realty. She's our Baltimore expert. Lydia, when did you join our company?
It will be 3 years in March.
3 years.
Yeah.
And I've already sent a ton of business your way because trust you. I know you get things done. You're a fabulous agent.
Oh,
Just wanna
thank
tell
you
you
so
that.
much. And you've sent a lot of business my way, and I love it.
So real quick though, we'll dive into this deeper, but I'm thinking I do the same. Like, I'm not going to Baltimore. Sometimes I don't want to go to Montgomery County, but do you ever make the trek up to Baltimore?
Well, she invited me up to do a TikTok at one of her high-end listings. What was that one?
In Caves Valley, it
Yeah.
was a gorgeous 15,000 square foot home.
So what does 15,000 square foot in Caves Valley go for?
It was listed at $12 million.
Oh, wow. That's
Ambitious?
A little ambitious, yes.
And where is Caves Valley?
So that's in Baltimore County, and it's in Green Spring Valley, so probably 20 minutes outside the city.
Okay.
I feel like that's something you should know. You're like a country club guy, and you're in that whole scene. You should definitely know what Caves Valley is.
Caves Valley. I have to check it
Go
out.
look it up.
Check it out.
All right. Well, welcome to the show. We can just dive right in. We always like to get a little background. Like you're full on Baltimore, like
I am
born and
Baltimore,
raised.
born and raised. Yep. So I've lived in Baltimore my whole life. Came to DC, went to GW for school, and wanted to get right back, and did. And I've been living and working in Baltimore ever since.
What drew you to GW?
I visited Georgetown, GW. I knew I wanted to be in a city. And so it was funny. We started my college search in DC, and GW was the first school. And then we planned and we went up to Boston, Philly, and then BC, BU. And I was like, this was a great trip, but I want to go to GW. And so I applied early. I actually did crew. I was on the rowing team. So met with the coach, loved the coach, and applied early. And it was the only school I applied to.
Because it's proximity to home.
I wanted to be relatively close. I wanted to be away, but close enough.
Right.
And I wanted to be in a city. That's what I was looking for.
So Baltimore's not a city?
It is a city. I didn't grow up in the city. I grew up in the county.
Right.
Like I said, my friends in college always made fun of me. I said, everything's 20 minutes. So I said, Caves was 20 minutes. I grew up 20 minutes from the city. But yeah, I think I liked the proximity, and I was away, but my parents could come and we did dinner and shopping, and I'd bring my friends home and so on and so forth.
So why did you go back to Baltimore and like start your career there? Was it just that it was familiar to you? Like, tell us about like what's the draw? Like, what?
Yeah,
tell
so
us.
Baltimore I loved being in DC. To me, DC felt transient compared to Baltimore. So Baltimore, really, I always say, it's a magnet. So many people grow up in Baltimore, go away to school, maybe go live in New York, DC, San Francisco, and then everybody trickles back eventually, and to lay their roots, to raise their families. And so I just knew growing up, my parents were not from Baltimore. My mom was actually from Bethesda, and my dad was from Ohio. And my brother and I were always envious of our friends whose grandparents were there and cousins were there, and they were close to family. And so I knew that I wanted to be back in Baltimore to raise our family, and I've never left.
So tell us about how starting your business and how long you've been in real estate. Tell us.
So I've been in real estate about 10 years. I always was intrigued by real estate. I love everything about it. What I love most is, you get to a point where you wonder how you're going to utilize your strengths and, convert them into an income, really. And so for me, it's the idea of being a connector. And so it's connecting buyers and sellers, but it's more than that. It's connecting clients to Baltimore, to Maryland. It's, I love the fun part of if I have someone from out of town, well, what are your favorite restaurants? Where do you get your nails done? Just connecting all my favorite go-tos and helping all those small businesses that I frequent and love, and connecting those to my clients. And it's relationships, right? And that's what I love most. And it's a long-term it's a long-term play. I'm not in this for what happens tomorrow or next week. It's really developing relationships with people and helping them in their home journey, and then helping them, as they're getting acclimated, if they have questions. Our team, we're always like, just call or text us. We're not going anywhere. And if you're curious about a contractor down the road or a school for your children or whatever it might be, I love to it's the idea of connecting people is what really draws me to it.
So what would you say, like, in terms of because we talk about Baltimore County and the city, what's like your ratio of business? Do you know like how much city stuff you're doing and how much county stuff?
It ebbs and flows, and it's a little bit more about what people are looking for. So we cover, I have a great team, and we cover a wide range. So we really cover north of Montgomery County. So into Howard County, Frederick County, there's a lot of spillover because, as you guys know, prices in DC are cost prohibitive for some. And so people are going from DC to Montgomery County, and then if they can't do Montgomery County, there's Howard County, and then now going west to Frederick County is really growing, and then up into Baltimore City and county. So we cover a lot more. I'd say you'd see a lot more first-time home buyers looking in in downtown Baltimore, Canton, Federal Hill, Fells Point, kind of the row house scene. Mm-hmm. Lots of restaurants, bars. That area has totally grown. And then it's usually a progression if people start there, and then maybe they want a little more space, and so they move northern, maybe to Guilford, Homeland, and these beautiful neighborhoods that are still within city limits, but especially to you guys would feel much more suburban. Mm-hmm. And then there's Baltimore County, where you have gorgeous horse farms and acreage and country clubs and so on and so forth. So not quite sure of the ratio, but there's kind of a different niche for every area.
So your buyers, your clients, what do they primarily do for a living? Are they working in downtown Baltimore? Are they coming down to DC or going up to Philly?
No, I'd say the majority work within Baltimore. So downtown Baltimore still has like several big Brown Advisory, Stiefel, several big banks. Obviously the hospitals, so Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland, are huge pulls. And then I've gotten a lot, I've worked with several, the beauty of this business is when you work with someone, and then the best thing is when they refer you. So I have a lot of professors from Hopkins. So Hopkins is in, the northern part of the city. So the pull from DC, the number of people that are coming from DC has definitely grown. I would say the market shifting a bit with interest rates, thanks to you guys a lot sending clients. I mean, some weeks I'd have 5 different new clients a week consistently coming from DC.
So they're coming from DC, but are they still working in DC, or they just done in DC? They are commuting.
But with COVID and the change of if you commute maybe 2 or 3 days a week,
right?
But you can build a totally different life as far as what you can get in a home in Baltimore. So it's become popular. But I would still say the majority are living and working in Baltimore City and county. But a lot of people still do work within Baltimore City.
Yeah, the whole Northeast corridor thing. So we were just talking about this before the podcast, and even further south, it's like since COVID, people have options, a lot of options, and when you think about cost of living as just being, I think people don't focus on that enough. Actually, if you really think like, I want to work, I want to save money, I want to raise a family. What's important to you, right? Those are usually the main things when it really comes down to it. DC is extremely expensive now. Like, you have to make a lot of money in DC to have like all the nice things.
Yes.
So, but you don't have to go that far away, like geographically, to have a decent lifestyle in a community that you enjoy.
Exactly.
So I think that's the draw.
It is. I mean, it's from everywhere, from a first-time home buyer that might buy in DC. I'm just going to throw round numbers. It's $1 million for something really small. In Baltimore and Canton, Federal Hill, Fells Point, I mean, you can get a gorgeous townhome for $400,000 to $600,000. Then it goes up if someone looking for a single family home. Again, I mean, it can be anywhere. It can be up to like 3 and 4 times less than what it is in DC. I mean, in Baltimore, high end is, $3 million is very high end. 2 million is still higher end. And, you know, right after COVID, $2 and $3 million homes were going very, very quickly. They're not moving quite as fast at the moment.
Right.
So what is the like the hot neighborhood up there?
So within the city, you have like 3 great neighborhoods: Guilford, Roland Park, and Homeland. So Guilford, for example, is very close to Johns Hopkins University. It's surrounded by a gorgeous Sherwood Gardens. We actually just sold this summer Governor West Mawr and First Lady Dawn's house in Guilford. Stunning. I mean, 8,000 square feet, 2,000 square foot basement, pool table, wine cellar. I mean, just gorgeous. Beautiful pool and pool house and gardens. So again, you're within the city, but you feel like you're in suburbia. There's huge green space. There's beautiful sidewalks for, you know, to take walks, gorgeous Sherwood Gardens. And then just up is the neighborhood of Homeland, which is where I live. And then across, so Homeland is similar in Guilford has very beautiful grand homes, huge. Homeland, no 2 houses are the same, all built in the late 1920s. My house was built in 1931. Very meticulously maintained. And then you have Roland Park. These are all almost within, you know, you could walk or run within all of them. Roland Park is more Victorian homes, but just as beautiful. And then as you go north, you cross right over the county line in the neighborhood of Ruxton, which is in Towson. Again, just older homes, beautiful, a little bit more space. And I think Baltimore, the market's really driven by convenience. So everybody wants to be centrally located so that getting to school is convenient, running your errands is convenient, hanging out with friends is convenient, so on and so forth.
Do they have a neighborhood like the Meatpacking District or Logan Circle where it's like warehouses and...
A little bit, some warehouse, a little bit in Fells Point,
Okay.
in between Fells Point and Hopkins Hospital, but not really, not many spaces like that.
What else does the average DC person need to know about Baltimore? Because Baltimore, I am a child of the 90s. I used to go to Baltimore to go to insane clubs and rave parties.
Mm-hmm.
That's for our listeners to just know another weird fact about me. So when I think about Baltimore, it's a special place in my heart because of that.
What were you, like 12 when you were going to these clubs?
Like
if you're in the
16,
90s.
17.
It
It was wild. It was a different era, okay? All right?
How would you get there? Just curious.
Drive.
You would
I-95. In the Nissan Maxima station wagon, okay,
Yeah.
man?
Yeah. With your subwoofers, kickers in the back.
I don't think we had a subwoofer in that one. But good times. But there was always, anyway, like an allure. People talked about it even then, like younger people, like moving to Baltimore. It was less expensive. Like, you know, it was a city. But to me, like over the years of like thinking about all this, it never lived up to that. Like, oh, we're going to be like a suburb of DC. Mm-hmm. But you're getting people from DC who want to have an easier life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's very different from DC.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you being from DC, me being from Baltimore, I think it's always been like, oh, DC, it's like a whole different world, right? And you probably feel the same about Baltimore. But I think it's like we're saying, you can have a very nice lifestyle as far as cost of living and such. I think our restaurant scene has really grown leaps and bounds. I mean, we have our old staples like the prime rib, which you have here, and Tio Pepe's, and then we have 2 restaurant groups. The Atlas restaurant group has really blown up, and they have, though I don't know exactly, but call it at least 8 to 10 restaurants everyone is a different experience, and everyone is better than the next. And then we have another restaurant group, the Foreman Wolf group, and they have, 4 or 5 restaurants in town that are amazing, from like Petit Louis, which is in the neighborhoods that I was speaking of, and it's really like a neighborhood French bistro, and you go and you see 10 people that you know, and you get there and they know exactly what you want to drink. And so I think the beauty of Baltimore is it is a city, and we do have, the culture and the events and the restaurants and the sports teams. We have everything, but it's also such a tight-knit community. And when I travel, Max and I were talking about this, to Florida, or, and I come home and it's freezing cold and such, what do we do? But then it's the community that really keeps us there. And so I think you really feel like you have a place in Baltimore. And you do have the conveniences and, like I said, the culture and everything of a city, but it's not overwhelmingly huge. My dad used to say there are 500 people in Baltimore, and you will know all of them. So it's small-to-more, as we all like to say.
Small-to-more.
But the community is strong. And I think that's what some people need to know. And then on a totally different note, we have DC clients that actually bought a country home in Baltimore County 2 years ago. And it's stunning. It's on the Loch Raven Reservoir on 6 acres. And she said something funny in that about convenience. And she said she's a very high-powered attorney in DC. They live right in DC. And she said, the ability to run errands. I can go to Target. I can go anywhere in 10 minutes. Yeah. Whereas if I do that in DC,
it's all day.
It's all day. And she's like, in Baltimore, I can be relaxing in what feels like I'm away from everything, but I'm 10 minutes. I'm 10 minutes to a camp for the kids. I'm 10 minutes to Home Goods. She and her mother, I guess, are at Home Goods when they close at 9 all the time. But so again, it's a city with the conveniences of suburbia, really.
Yeah.
So what would that house cost? So it's a second home for the couple from DC. Like, what does that house cost?
They bought it for $3 million.
They bought it for $3 million.
So that's a pretty nice house.
It's a huge 15,000 square foot stone. It's an estate.
That's a little country house.
Yeah.
Okay. It's done. There's no
They have done a lot.
They
have done a lot of work to it.
They've done a lot of work to it.
They've done a lot of work to it. And they put in an organic garden, and then it has a gorgeous pool, and it's stunning.
It's a second home, and they have an organic garden and a pool. Do they have groundskeepers?
They have they have help that comes with them from DC up to Baltimore. Yeah. It's amazing.
Sounds really nice.
They wanted a farm, so we looked at several farms in Baltimore County and Howard County, and then this had been on the market, and it's beautiful.
And just curious, so they went to Baltimore County, but were they also looking at Annapolis or Virginia wine country?
Yes.
If you haven't figured out, Brent's shopping right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
I'm just always curious of people's mindset. Like, how did they get to Baltimore County versus Middleburg?
They wanted to be within an hour of the city because they have young children, and she wanted to just be able to pick up and go, and it not be a huge commitment if they just wanted to go for a weekend. So they didn't look in Virginia. They looked in Howard County. We looked in a lot of spots, and originally they thought they wanted a huge farm with lots of acreage. And then as the search evolved, as we all know, they learned more and more about what they wanted. And I think, again, they have young kids, so I think the convenience of feeling like you're away, and it's such a juxtaposition from downtown DC, but it's the convenience of the errands. It's the convenience of camps for their kids in the summer. She can still work, and if she has to pop back down, like they spent most of the summer here, but she would come to DC periodically if she had to come in for meetings or what have you. So I think it was the proximity, to be honest.
So let's talk about your team. How do you set up your team? How many people are on your team? How do you delegate authority?
Yeah. So I have the best team in the business as far as I'm concerned. There's 3 of us. So Alex Lerner and I really run the team. We all 3 actually run the team together, but I'm not a big title person. I'm not a big hierarchy person. I'm more, get your hands dirty, dive in, and let's just get the job done. So Alex and I are business partners, and we really run everything together. And then we have Haley, who's just joined the team maybe a year and a half ago, and she's incredible. She works so hard. I've had actually colleagues not within real estate, but another colleague, kind of a mentor to me, and she was like, "Oh, you snapped her up first." And I said, "I did." And she's amazing. So we really, the 3 of us and Alex, we build on each other's strengths. So he's the yin to my yang, really. And so where I might fall short, he definitely picks up. Where I won't even say he falls short, but there are things that I might be stronger at that we do. Some clients will say, I don't know, for whatever reason, this one, he won't call me back. Why don't you try? And then he or she will answer for one of us. So we really work together. And we're really good at covering for one another, you know, if someone's away or someone has something. And so I think we're good at delegating based on what we know. If I know Alex is really great, he's really great at the behind the scenes and the nuts, making sure all
right.
paperwork, contracts. I mean, I do it, but he's also great and can sometimes do it in 2 minutes. So he's like, I got it, and it's done. Haley handles all of our social media, which has been just such a game changer. So we go over a plan and ideas. She puts things together so quickly, and it's just made a huge difference.
So she does all social media?
She does all social media.
Does she do anything else besides social media? That's full time.
Yeah, no, she's social media, and she's new.
She's licensed?
She's licensed. And so she helps with listings. She helps with showings. We have a great listing in Mount Vernon in Baltimore City right now. That was, you know, from her sphere, so to speak. And so we're working on that together, but she's really taking the lead with showings, and she's doing a phenomenal job. She's a worker, so she's willing to jump in and do anything she can.
I was going back and forth with our team this morning on social media. I'm trying to get off of it a little bit. Like I deleted TikTok. I'm thinking about Instagram as well, but
well, how are you going to say me?
Yeah.
That's a whole other story. But I'm interested though, in the plan. So Haley is putting together, it's like how many posts a week, how many posts a day? And is there a mix up personal, professional, professional?
Yeah. So I still see, I hate being on camera, but when it's a picture of any of us, that's what people want to see. They want to hear from you. They want to see you. They want to see your real life.
It generally has the most engagement on those platforms, yes.
It does. So we do all the standard, just sold, just listed, under contract, so on and so forth. But we get the most from she does phenomenal reels, whether it's if we've had an event or we've gone to a sales meeting or we'll put something together from today. So we do mix. I would say of my team, I put the most personal stuff up there. Then just by circumstance, I don't know why, but I do.
Are you doing like Max suggests, always flip the camera around and talk to the camera on whatever topic?
I need to get better about that. I don't love my voice on camera, so.
I don't think anybody does except for Max.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
He sort of has a.
He's got a radio voice.
Well, it's all because of practicing doing with you.
It's like Howard Stern over here.
But it's all I'll say to that is I haven't done as much of it lately, but if there's a topic that I'm interested in, and I don't even really care necessarily about the scripting so much, I'll just talk about it and just let it roll. Mm-hmm. Now, to be fair, I have a pretty big audience on TikTok. Mm-hmm. So if I put something on there, I'm going to get a nice variety of people who are looking at it going okay, and then I get a bunch of trolls telling me realtors suck, and which is great. I love that actually. Yeah. But it's the engagement for the face up stuff and the and just talking to the camera even for a few seconds. It's crazy the difference. Mm-hmm. And then the property tours and everything like that and the just solds. I mean, it just kind of goes with the. Yeah. It's not complicated. You just do it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So goal for 24. I'll flip the camera around more.
Yeah.
Are you doing live? Are you going live?
I've done a few lives. Not enough. I actually enjoy those more than putting a video together because I'm just on there, and then
it's done.
Yeah, and then people are asking you questions, and all you have to do is just talk, and you don't even have to talk. Sometimes you're sitting there, you can just it's just you're on live. TikTok live is weird, so
interesting.
It's its own
your
world.
majority is TikTok.
Yeah.
Of your social.
Yeah, I mean Instagram's got good engagement too, but I just don't have as big of an audience. I think it's harder to grow that kind of audience on Instagram. Mm-hmm. The product is different. The way reels work and all that stuff is different. To be fair, I haven't tried the same kind of approach to Instagram as I have to TikTok, but I noticed that a lot of people are similar to me in that vein. They don't use the same kind of video work on Instagram and TikTok. They just don't. Mm-hmm. It's two different personalities almost.
Yeah.
So are you doing TikTok as well?
We are, but we don't do nearly as much on TikTok.
Yeah, same with us.
I see it much more through the eyes of my 13-year-old daughter than real estate.
Well, TikTok
We're much more on Instagram.
TikTok can go way sensational, and it's people really are looking to be really entertained when they're on TikTok.
Right.
Whereas Instagram is just I don't
exactly.
know. I don't know.
No, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
For sure.
If you're not watching, I just did like a flicking motion, like I was scrolling. So sorry, it was like audio version of that. So what kind of tech tools, besides social media, obviously you're doing well on social media, what kind of tech tools does your team use? Do you have a CRM? How are you following up with everyone?
So I don't have like a specific like sale. In my past life I've used Salesforce and such. Alex is, again, strengths and weaknesses. He's just really great at timelines, not as if he's telling me who to follow up with, but just like once we have a transaction and making sure that everything is buttoned up and on track. And then as far as just follow up, and it's sort of more old fashioned, just with, Google Docs and that type of thing. And just really remembering to keep top of mind as much as we can.
Yeah, no doubt.
How are you doing that, keeping top of mind?
Handwritten notes. So we've all done,
Handwritten or like your handwriting?
Have you done the ninja?
I've done Ninja. So again, I can always be better, but I do have, the letterhead. And so I do think a handwritten note is unexpected. And when people get it, they're like, oh, wow, that was really nice, because we don't see it anymore. So doing that, need to always be better. And then I'm just like, I will say, I feel like whenever and this is in work and friends, like if I think of something, I just shoot, oh my gosh, just thought of you. Like I'll send a text, like I was here, or, I have sold a lot of homes in my neighborhood. So if something's going on, it's just reaching out, just finding a touch point, a reason, following up a couple months in, just how are things going, clients that we're going to do work. How did the work go? Need it, everything going well, need any need any resources type thing. So it's really more, I think, just organically reaching out, again, kind of as a friend more so than we're not high pressure. It's definitely more of a relationship sales approach across the board for our team.
We do a lot of handwritten notes. I usually do 5 to 10 a week. But then once a quarter, I'm interested if you guys have tried this. It's called handwritten.
Yeah, it's that where they do it for you.
Do it. And it's usually like, Happy July 4th. Hope you are having a great summer. Or we just did one for Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
You did like a bulk kind of thing?
Day. What is it?
You did a bulk send on handwritten?
It's a bulk send, but it's like, hey there. So it's a little cheesy. And the other cheesy part about it is it's usually stamped from somewhere not in D.C. So it's like they get a stamp from Phoenix, Arizona, and it's like, well, Brent's definitely not in Phoenix, Arizona. I just saw him yesterday. Yeah. But some people, they like it, and they, thanks for sending me the card. I hope you're having a great Thanksgiving too.
I like that tool.
It's a touch point.
Yeah.
I actually one time had someone tell me, you have really good handwriting. I'm like, that wasn't my handwriting.
Wait, so you do use handwritten?
I've done it before. Not handwritten. I've used a different. It's been a while.
Audience there's a lot of different vendors for that.
But it's, I don't know if you can customize it to the point, because we have like 300 letters that we're sending. Yeah. So it's not like, hey, Bob, hey, Jennifer.
Yeah, they don't have a mail
Betsy.
merge.
Like, I just put hey there. So.
You don't have a mail merge yet?
No.
For handwritten?
For handwritten, no, you can't.
They need to probably.
Yeah, they don't have
that. Should be an easy tool for them to integrate, though.
I would think so too.
Yeah, that should be right.
What about client parties?
So we love events, and so whenever we have a special listing. So I mentioned the listing in Mount Vernon. So there's so Mount Vernon is sort of in the middle of Baltimore City, and it's actually gorgeous. It was designed after Paris, so it actually has that very European feel, and we have the Washington Monument right in the middle. So they have a monument tree lighting, and so we're going to do an event. We have a listing right on the circle, so literally that looks at the monument. So we'll do an event there for the tree lighting next week. So we try to do things for special listings. And again, they don't have to be huge. They don't have to be, record setters, but if there's something special about it, we'll do an event. And we often partner with our partners in like mortgage and, our lenders and in title, to help just to get, to spread the word about their business, to get a wider audience. But we like events. As we all know, they can be hit or miss just based on everyone is so busy. these days, especially during the holidays. So you always hope for a good turnout, but I think it's another great way to showcase the property.
So the event for the lighting ceremony, like, can you walk us through like what that entails, what the event's going to be like?
So it's really like, it's like an it's like a cocktail party.
Okay.
Just and it's an open house. Their brokers can bring clients, and then it's also our clients, and it's some friends. And again, it's showcasing the listing, it's showcasing Mount Vernon, it's showcasing our team.
And it's circled around another event going on, so
yes,
it's a draw.
It's a draw, exactly.
And how is it advertised? Is it like in the MLS Broker Open, or are you guys sending handwritten letters?
It'll be in the MLS. We'll say handwritten, and then email invitations as well.
Yep. That's
very
smart.
cool.
Yeah.
Band or anything going on?
I have someone that always does music.
Right.
Yeah, on the guitar.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
We didn't get an invite.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can go to.
Yeah.
We're permanently invited to Baltimore.
100%.
Right.
It's if anyone ever will make the trek from DC.
Max might stop by a rave party or something.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore. Nothing's the same anymore. It's not as fun.
No.
Okay, so we've the market was going gangbusters for all of us for a few years there, thanks to super low interest rates that no one could get enough of. Obviously. The market here has definitely slowed down a bit, both in terms of like inventory, buyers kind of sidelining themselves. Brent, you said you had a little uptick in the last week, which is great. We've seen some increased activity for some things, but I think overall we're feeling that. Tell us about how the Baltimore market is doing right now.
Yeah, it's very similar. So we've thankfully been steady, but like you said, it was immediately post-COVID, it was crazy. It was gangbusters. And I'd say when the rates increased, it was quite literally like a faucet so it was 2 summers ago. I would say in Baltimore, everything came to a standstill for a couple months. And then last year, we had a great spring market. And we held steady throughout. It's a little quieter now, just I think with the holiday and such, but we've really seen there's not much inventory. So just like you guys are seeing, I think a lot of sellers are saying, well, if they don't have to move, I have a 2% interest rate. Why would I ever move? But we've had, people are still some people are moving to Florida. People are downsizing. So that inventory is coming on. There's still a lot of buyers, but I think what we're really seeing is buyers are just taking their time to make a decision. So where in the height of it, things were going in a couple days and you might be competing with 10, 20, 30 offers. People are taking their time. It's at the current interest rates, it's a bit more of a commitment than I think it was a couple years ago. It was easy to make a lateral move a couple years ago. You could get.
I listed a really gorgeous new renovation house in Northwest DC a few weeks ago, and we think it's priced within range, within striking distance. And it's been shown only a few times. It's just been a little slow in that location. And there's some people, though, that are like now hovering around it, but they're not acting. They're like, whereas before it would have been like, if I told someone, I said, there's a couple other people looking at it.
Would have been done.
Yeah, someone's going to write. No one's jumping on things.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that with some of your stuff, Brent?
I see it when the value comes down to where a buyer's like, it's just too good to pass up.
Right.
So that's the thing I think we're having a hard time as agents. Like, we're pricing things. The neighbor got $1 million. Let's try $1.025 million, $1.050 what have you. This could be any neighborhood, any price point. We try $1.050 million. It's crickets. Then we drop it to $1 million, a few more showings, and we drop it to like $899 or $950, and then it's just like a flurry of activity.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I can say is, we ratified 2 deals yesterday. Should be 2 more today. Before it'd be like one line through the price, escalating up to whatever price. Now it's like the entire contract, both on the home inspection, the contract itself, dates, pricing. There's like 6 or 7 times going back and forth like a ping pong match.
Yeah, I would agree with
that. The negotiations itself is a lot more tense than it was before.
Yes, I would agree. And not waiving as much,
Sure.
We were everyone was waiving appraisal and home inspection, and that's not the case. And I think from a pricing perspective, it's really gone back to, and it puts it on us, as we're giving the advice, pricing it right and letting the market dictate. Okay, if letting the sellers know, the market will tell us if you should get more. You will have a bid.
Right.
If we price it, and if in reality you should have gotten more, then we will have multiple offers, and the price will be driven up. But I think in this market, pricing it too high, it's going to sit, and you're probably going to have to reduce it.
And that's the hardest part, is like the pricing in itself, because if you're looking back for 24 months, maybe 36, it's hard, because almost like 2018 or 2019, what were things trading for? You exclude the pandemic bubble, and even then, it's hard to get a seller. If it's an end user seller, for sure. Well, my neighbor got 1.1. Why can't I get 1.1 or 1.2 or 1.25?
100%.
For the past 15 years, yes, back to the financial crisis, but now it's like, neighbor got 1.1. We should really come on at $1 million and see the activity just go crazy.
Yes.
And be happy with $1.05 million or even $1 million.
Yes.
If that's the one offer that comes in.
Well, I just treat everything like super empirically with these sellers. If anything, like anything short term, let's just call 5 years short term, right? If you held your property for 5 years and you haven't spent money on major improvements or expansions or whatever, I'm looking at a lot of people who are going like the other direction right now for a lot of different types of products. Condos, downtown condos, houses that are not like detached single family in the perfect neighborhood. It's not like a pretty picture for the seller, but I don't have an opinion about that. I just have to tell them like that here's the reality of how this market's probably going to treat this product. And they can either get on board or hold their property for longer. I mean, I can't undo it. So.
And what I've seen is consistent, and I tell every buyer, every seller this, is even in the height, at least in Baltimore, even in the height of the post-COVID craziness, if a property needs work, it has to be priced accordingly, because people are, with building costs and everything, they want a deal if they have to put money into it. And if it needs work, it will sit, if it's not, in my opinion, if it's not priced correctly.
The other thing we've been pushing for the better part of this year is rentals. So it's like if a seller can't get their number in 30 days, 60 days, and they don't need the equity out of their home, I'm like, the market's going to bounce back. It might be 1 year, could be to max of 0.5 years, but you're at a 2% interest rate, and rents have gone through the roof. So your notes all in is $4,000. We can get you $5,500, maybe $6,000 a month. So you need to consider this option, Mr. Seller. And a lot of times, they get to that 60, 90-day mark, and they're like, well, we're starting to feel a pinch now because we're paying 2 mortgages or a rent and a note. So
I'm advising the exact same thing. I just had that happen with a listing, actually, and the sellers are happy.
Yeah.
I follow the rental market I keep MLS updates, like just streaming into my email all day. Like I just send them to myself as an automatic update. So I keep track of rentals about 5,000. And when I look at detached houses, especially in Northwest or like townhouses in Georgetown, the rents have definitely gone up. But when you consider like the all-in price of purchasing a home in some of these locations right now with like a normal down payment or more, and then still with the interest rates, what the payment's going to be, taxes, everything, even a rental that looks a little inflated is still a better deal.
Yes.
So that's why the rental market is hot right now. It's just plain dollars.
And it also allows a renter to test drive a block, a neighborhood, what have you. It's like, let me try AU Park. I've heard such great things about AU Park. They get in AU Park, they love it, or they don't like it. They want to be in Wellesley Heights or whatever neighborhood.
100%.
But I'm bullish on the market. So the other thing, I think when the market started to shift, I was like, oh man, it's a terrible time to buy. Rates are going through the roof. I pivoted my thought process to where I'm telling consumers, and I'm probably, get some backlash on this, but I'm like, it's a 40% swing, right? Because when the market was good, you were going 20% over list price. Now, let's start at 20% off the list price and see what happens. And 9 times out of 10, there's maybe not 20%, but like we've negotiated 10 to 15% off on the list price. So it's, a 30 plus swing in values. You can negotiate, or you can refinance down the road, but you can't renegotiate the price. Once
exactly. And I would totally agree. And what does every lender say? Marry the house, not the rate.
Right. That's come under fire lately, right? Because it's like, well, maybe this could go on for a long time. I don't know.
I don't think personally, what do I know? But I would be very surprised if we see 2% and 3% anytime soon.
Yeah.
But I think that you're right. You can get a lower price, and hopefully that high rate is temporary by 1 or 2 points.
Sure. Okay, so we're just in reality check mode here on the podcast today. I mean, we're just trying to provide value to our listeners because we're all in the same boat here.
So real quick, so like downtown Baltimore to this point, like in DC, like Max pointed out, like condos, if you're in downtown DC, you can get a good deal on some of these places. If you're looking for a fee simple detached house in Edgemoor, they're not existent. Fee simples up there are just multiple offers, or a lot of times they're sold off market. But is there a neighborhood in Baltimore that's like, wow, this is a really good time to buy in like this particular neighborhood?
So I think there's more inventory in downtown Baltimore as far as row houses go. So like I said, Federal Hill, Canton, Fells Point, there's more inventory there. And oftentimes sellers there are moving into a bigger home, so they have to sell. So I think there's some wiggle room there. Some of the neighborhoods, like I was talking about, Guilford, Roland Park, Homeland, prices aren't as high as they were maybe a year ago, but there's not as much inventory. There are not as many homes selling, so it can get to be a bit more competitive. And it's really, you'll see one house will come on and it'll have multiple offers and go in a day. If it's in a great neighborhood and it's renovated and, it's a neighborhood that doesn't turn very much. But then others are sitting for longer. Like in some ways there isn't much rhyme or reason. In Baltimore, if you go further out in the county, you can get a lot more for your money, and it might not be quite as competitive. Now, when I say further out, I'm talking like Hunt Valley, Cockeysville. It's not very far. Here I go again. It's 20-25 minutes from downtown. Sure. And it's 10 minutes from a Wegman. It's still as convenient. It's just where you build your life around. But definitely downtown, there's always more inventory.
I was having this discussion with a client yesterday, and if you're in DC, Baltimore, anywhere in the USA, it's like if you're centrally located, let's just call it Capitol Hill, your entire life for 10, 20 years have been around Capitol Hill. But if you're going to upper Northwest, Edgemoor, Montgomery County, you just have to reposition your center of gravity.
Yes.
Like that, you can't base like going from Edgemoor back down to Capitol Hill. It's like, all right, my center of gravity, my Wegmans, my Starbucks, everything is in downtown Chevy Chase or Edgemoor or what have you.
But I'm sure you'll agree, convincing buyers of that can be very difficult.
It's challenging. Yeah, it's like, but everything I know and love is like here in this neighborhood. What's like,
it's like, no, they have it in other places too.
Exactly.
Right. And you're really not far if you ever just want to go back and visit.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So, under topic, profession-based Sitzer-Burnett case. Recently, a lot of stuff going on with these lawsuits, and the potential changes coming to our business with how commissions are going to be dealt with. Give us your take. First of all, have you seen any changes? No. Okay. So I guess I'll finish my question, that have you seen any changes to, if you're in a listing appointment, you're meeting a seller and they're saying, listen, I saw this stuff in the news and I realized I don't have to pay a buyer agent commission anymore. I want you to take the listing at 2.5%. Have you dealt with anything like this lately?
No.
Okay.
So I have not, it has not come up with any clients. I don't, we don't like it. I mean, I'm not happy about it, but I think there's a couple things. One, I think when we're all in our own industries, we think that everyone outside of the industry is paying attention and knows all the nuts and bolts. And I don't know that as many people as we think are attuned to it outside of the industry really are. So that's one. So it has not come up. Two, I think that in certain spaces where I think a lot of us, I mean, our team sells everything, but as you get in certain spaces, clients are used to, as we are, paying for a professional service. And so I know myself, I would much rather pay an expert to do it right. I mean, I don't love paying for anything, but I'd rather them do it right than me spin my wheels and possibly make a mistake that could have a very lasting negative impact. So I would like to hope that a lot of our clients, especially the ones that know us and have used us multiple times, really respect what we do and what we bring to the table as far as expertise, advice, knowing that it's done right, knowing that they're protected, knowing that their best interests are at heart, and knowing that it's not an easy thing to do on your own. And so it'll be something that we might have to really defend down, as time marches on. But I also feel confident in what we all, and with TTR Sotheby's International Realty, and really what we bring to the value that we bring to the table. Mm-hmm. Will it be fun to sort of, defend it every listing presentation and every conversation? No, but I think we can do it. I'm not quite sure how close we are to that.
Sure.
What's your take, just in general, your personal take on seller pays for the representation, buyer pays for the representation? So you're kind of the way it is now, right? We negotiate on behalf of the seller and the buyer agent commission, and then it's like, here's the commission for both sides. But what is your personal take on, all right, seller pays for me and the buyer agent handles their side?
I think it'll be tough. And I think, a home purchase is a huge purchase for, even if it's a cash buyer buying their fourth home, it's still a big purchase. It's still a big impact on anyone's portfolio. So to then say, oh, and by the way, in addition to the down payment and the closing costs, we need to build in another 2.5%. I think that could be a stretch for a lot of people. I think the way it is now, without being super very technical, is yes, as a seller, it's a punch in the gut a little bit to hear what you're paying, but then you're going to buy another house and you're not paying, and you're paying it on one side and you're not paying it on the other. So yes, if you're just a seller and you're not buying anything, it's a shame. You're not getting both ends. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But if
that's a good point.
If you're going to buy, you're not.
But I guess that I hear what you're saying, but I think that, again, not being like the total expert on this thing, the argument that the attorneys made there was that the commissions, being what the quote unquote standard commissions are in most of these jurisdictions, have artificially inflated housing prices, which leads to the question of, like, is everyone just overpaying for real estate and also the fees? And I think what we were talking about before we started recording was, I've read a lot more stuff about this now. Like, who are these attorneys? Like, what are they doing?
Right.
And they picked the exact right moment and the exact right place, and they knew what they were doing, and it sort of created this cascading effect. But to all of our point, to see that in practice, at least for where we work and how we do business, and knowing the kind of clients that we work with, like sellers who are not, forget the home seller, but the buyers, buying a house is it's an involved endeavor.
Yes.
Okay. Could it be streamlined with technology and other things? Sure. I mean, we've been streamlining everything, I guess, for years. But the idea of, having to deal with, as a listing agent, like individual buyers coming to all of these appointments and answering all their questions and, representation, it gets a little murky really quickly based on our experience over the last 10, 20 years.
Yeah, I think it's hard as a listing agent to, yes, there's circumstances where you can have dual agency and you can, any of us could represent the buyer and the seller. But when you have any potential buyer coming to you, I think it gets tough to make sure that you have your clients, at that point, both the sellers and the buyers' best interests.
Yeah, and it just depends on, your personal policy or your company's policy, like how. I mean, we don't have any guidance on this yet because we're not dealing with it.
It's illegal in Maryland, right? You can't do dual representation.
Right.
Yeah, it depends on the jurisdiction. Yeah. I mean, it's legal in D.C., but our company doesn't do it.
Right.
So
it's true. I mean, we don't do it often. A few times in my career, we've done dual representation where the seller is fiduciary duty, our client. The buyer is a customer. But I can tell you 9 times out of 10, it gets murky. There's an issue in the home inspection. Whose side are you really on here? And it's just, that's the type of, we got to delay closing a week. Where whose side are you on? Are you on my side or their side? Price is easy. It's like, all right, here's the numbers. Like, I'm not negotiating either side. It's the buyer and the seller. But it's that behind the scenes that people don't realize. Well, the toilet was fine when I was living there. you end up, it comes out of the agent's pocket. We had to buy
Right.
a $250 toilet or something like that.
100%. And that's something that an outsider doesn't realize, like how much goes into what we actually do. And
Right.
and we are representing our client to make sure that they, you know, get the most out of the transaction on either side. That's hard to do for two people at the same time competing against each other.
Well, I mean, yeah, because it's a typically the largest transaction that anyone's ever going to deal with, and that it's tense for a lot of people.
It's emotional.
It's emotional. We always talk about this. These are all cliches, but they're all true.
Yeah.
And it's the same every time.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Well, this topic will keep coming up, I think, on all of our podcasts. At least I'm going to make it come up because I think about it all the time. It's really interesting. It's one of the largest things that's happened. It will be.
It is. It's very.
We really need to schedule that, like an episode though,
Somebody from
with someone
Missouri?
really, right, the actual juror.
Ozarks,
Like,
here we come.
Yeah, because I want to know like what. Like I need to know what went down from like the right kind of perspective, because I'm just reading these articles and
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to get the whole vibe. Well, Lydia, I mean, it's great having you. We're like,
It's fast.
that was yeah. See how
That was
fast it goes. Brent's gonna hit you with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Do you watch sports?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a huge Ravens fan.
Well, okay. That was my question. If you were a Ravens or Orioles fan, you had to go to one.
I did. So I'm a huge Ravens fan. We have seats. I'm kind of crazy about it. And then Orioles. I went to several games, but my son and my husband went to one of the playoff games.
This
I
woman
hoped we'd
is
come back.
from Baltimore and lives in Baltimore. She bleeds Ravens blood.
I
Okay,
do.
it's like
It's kind of. I probably know way too much, but anyway.
So you're a Lamar Jackson fan.
He's proving himself better. I was not of his fan as he was holding out this summer, but he's
him.
having a good year.
He's a good guy, and
Yeah.
Harbaugh's great.
I love Harbaugh.
What's the go-to restaurant in Baltimore?
I think, like I said, Petit Louis is our neighborhood spot.
What is that? What type of
It's
food?
like a French bistro,
French bistro.
cozy. You know everybody. They know what you want.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Lunch and dinner.
Lunch and dinner.
So lots of girls' lunches, lots of.
I have a question. Are there like multitudes of restaurants popping up in Baltimore that charge $250 to $300 per person for a tasting menu? Is that going on there?
Not necessarily for a tasting menu, but inflation is real. I mean,
Okay.
it's gotten very much more expensive to go out to dinner these days.
Well, but in DC, it's like every week I'm reading, on like
You're not reading. You're actually going to these.
all right,
places.
Yeah,
all right.
he's
I've
actually
been to a
having
couple.
these
I've been to a
menus.
couple, but then I get the bill and I'm like, what the hell did I just do?
Yeah.
But whatever. I just wonder.
Yeah. No, not as much tasting.
Not as much of that. Okay, all right.
No.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Because Brent's at one of these every night too.
No, I'm not. No. Nordstrom's Cafe for me.
Oh, nice.
Very easy.
Throwback.
We're going into the cold weather here. What is your go-to vacation spot? Could be cold weather too.
So I said we love to go down to Key Biscayne right outside of Miami. So we'll go the week before Christmas. And then we love to ski. So Park City for President's Day.
Just doing it all.
I have a great team that holds down the fort when I take quick
But no,
trips.
that's awesome. That's like the Key Biscayne and Park City.
Yeah.
Like that's like perfect vacation.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. We try to get away for a couple days here and there.
Do you
when we
take your
can.
skis with you, or do you rent skis when you go?
I've always taken, but now it's easier to
much.
just get demos when you get there. We take our boots.
What are you currently reading?
The Matthew Perry book biography.
I am too.
Really?
It's very good.
It's very
It's
good,
interesting.
and it is so. I mean, it's really eye opening.
Yeah.
Is it an autobiography or a biography?
I think.
It's an autobiography.
He wrote it.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
wrote it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting because as soon as he died, I ordered a book. It took like 3 weeks. I guess
Right.
it was on just back order.
Yeah. I just saw a post. Someone said, I just read it off my phone. I like to
Yeah.
download it on my phone. And yeah, it's just interesting to get a glimpse into, right? We
Right.
watch these celebrities for so long, and then you get a glimpse behind the curtain. It's really, I think it's been interesting.
It's fascinating. I'm on this, whatever the chapter is, where he just got the Chandler part. He tried to
Yeah.
get his friend to be Chandler, and like he kept
Yes.
helping friends go to the audition, and eventually he just went to the audition
Yeah.
and he nailed it.
Yeah.
And like it was his he is Chandler.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly. Yeah,
fascinating.
it's amazing.
Last question here, off of that topic. Which Friends character are you?
So this was a hard one. Monica, I guess.
Monica?
It was hard to pinpoint, but
Right.
my family I asked and they said Monica.
Monica.
So.
She's great.
That was
All the
it? That was
questions there.
5?
That's 5.
Wow, that went really fast. I just rapid fire, I guess.
Rapid fire.
Yeah.
Lydia Travelstead, thank you so much for coming down
Thank you so much
all
for
the way from
having
Baltimore
me.
today.
On the
course.
train.
Took
On
the
the
train,
train.
smart.
But I thought about all my clients. It was 40 minutes. It's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can sit there and work on the train.
Yeah,
It's
I got
great. It's
work
awesome.
done. I caught up. Yeah, it's easy. Come
Well,
see me in Baltimore.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Love having you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Keyed In with your hosts, Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. For more information on selling your home, find us online at keyedinpodcast.com. Remember to subscribe to Keyed In on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Keyed In Podcast, at Rabin Max, and at Brent E. Jackson. And follow Max on TikTok at MaxwellRabin_properties.